Hey everyone, this is my video about polymer clay for beginners. And in this video I will be discussing what materials you need for polymer clay if you're planning to start polymer clay and some tips and tricks for polymer clay. So the very first material you'll need to ever get for polymer clay is polymer clay. And this is Sculpey 3. This is my favorite brand of clay to use, but there are other brands such as Fimo, Primo, and Craft Smart. Then you'll also need some sort of blade to cut your clay. This is just a mail cutter and it opens like this. And then you'll also need some sort of tools. This is my bag of tools and it just has some blades and some clay smoothers, and tools is very important for polymer clay making. You'll also need some sort of roller, and I just use a glue stick. And then you'll also be needing some findings if you're planning to make your clay into jewelry. So here's my giant box of findings. I have eye pins, chain, clasps, jump rings, and head pins. So it's very important to get findings so that if you want to attach your clay to jewelry, you can. And I recommend starting out with at least eye pins, which is over here. And to go along with that, you'll also probably need some pliers. So wire cutters to cut your eye pins easily. And you'll probably need round nose pliers the most out of the rest of the pliers, but other pliers are also important. This is just good for making loops. You also might want some chalk pastels to shade your clay and make it look realistic. You also will need some glaze if you want to make your charms shiny and have that finished look. This is just triple thick. And this is my favorite kind of glaze to use. It has a really nice shiny effect and it doesn't break or crack your clay. You'll also be needing some acrylic paint to paint on the eyes, and I use black acrylic paint for the eyes, white acrylic paint for the highlights of the eyes, and pink for the blush. And to paint on the eyes, you'll need some sort of tiny brush. And I use this brush for all three things. I use this to brush on my chalk pastels. I use the brush to paint on my acrylic paint. And I use it to glaze my charms. So a brush is also very important. I recommend getting a brush that is flat. And finally, you'll just need some texturing tools. So I recommend using a toothpick or a needle. This is just a regular toothpick. And so you can make dots in your clay. And also you might want a toothbrush to texture your clay, or you might want some sandpaper or some foil. And finally, you'll just need some things to decorate your clay with. So you can use rhinestones. These are raindrop rhinestones and these are circular rhinestones. And you can also use Fimo cane slices or Fimo fruit. And these I made myself. Or you can use micro marbles or cabochons, whatever you want. The possibilities are endless. So those are all the basic materials that you'll be needing for polymer clay. Now I will tell you guys some tips and tricks for polymer clay. So the very first tip I recommend is that if you have a very tiny charm or very thin charm, you should use a head pin instead of an eye pin and stick it through your charm. And also when you put your head pin through your charm, make sure you bake it before you make the loop, otherwise it's going to ruin your charm. Also, remember to clean your surface before working with polymer clay. so that you don't get dust particles in your clay. And I recommend putting them in some sort of storage containers or separate Ziploc bags so that like the colors don't mix. Also, eye pins. This is a very common mistake when people put their eye pins through their charms and it becomes all like loose. Like in my Harry Potter chibi, I have an eye pin and I did not properly cover it with clay around the edges, so now it's moving around. So make sure when you put your eye pin in, you bend the end, and also make sure to smooth the clay around it. You can also super glue it down or use some translucent liquid Sculpey to put it down. Whatever it takes, or you won't have this problem if you use a head pin, but sometimes an eye pin's better. And then also another use for toothpicks is to stick it through the bottom of your charms. So like in this popsicle. And make sure you stick it in very well and you cover up the clay around it before you stick it in. Basically, when you're working with small pieces of clay, make sure you make them kind of thick so that they don't fall off. And you can also use TLS to connect them. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. Thanks for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.